last question. And then also how people can get their politicians to maybe do something.
Okay, the future of cane burning on Maui and the potential for getting the politicians to actually enforce the law and show some interest in public health. Good luck. The politicians here seem largely asleep, other than Ellie Cochran on the council and Rob Parsons as the environmental coordinator and Pam Pogue, who's head of water resources for the Department of Water Supply. There are very few people who really take an active role. That our governor appointed Sheldon Biga to the Land Use Commission. I found kind of extraordinary. In any administration, you have bad appointments, but the Land Use Commission and the Commission on Water Resource Management are probably the two most important public commissions, maybe other than the PUC, Public Utilities Commission. My hope is that at some point people would get fed up enough with being ill and seeing their children ill and their parents ill, that they would take legal action, because the political process is just so corrupt here. That's not to say that everyone in political office is a bad person. I actually enjoy the company of people that, with whom I have diametrically opposing views. Many of these people are very gracious, well-intentioned people, but they've never gone deep. They never looked at what would build a future for Hawaii. They're always thinking about things like the mega mall and Kihei and stuff like that, which would be a disaster for South Maui. But there's union pressure on, and one of the Democratic candidates goes and tells the unions, "Oh, I'm all for the mega mall," and the other three are going, "We're completely against it." And there's all this kind of shadow dancing going on. I don't know. I hope at some point we'll see politicians who are people of integrity and who really have the interests of the community at heart. And that means the health, and that means sustainability in terms of food self-reliance. There are so many other issues. The water that's taken by HC&S is not their water. They don't really have the rights to this water, but there's an accommodation. And the same with Wailuku Water Company. There's an accommodation with county and state governments because the perception is that these corporations have a certain political power. And people are so scared of that that they'll just let anything take place. So.
Are there anything else that you'd like to add, or is this the final?
I had one thing that
Sure.
I wanted to. I noticed that you said that HC&S and A&B are stealing water from the watershed on East Maui.
Yes.
And so I know that's your passion right there, the actual water. So maybe give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about how. That's very inflammatory, obviously, to say they're stealing it. So and I'm sure it would be inflammatory without good reason. So.
Well, I'm being truthful. That's all. That's the difference. Because I don't have overweening political ambitions. I think it's really important that you really speak your truth. And most of these people are afraid to do it because of the 800 jobs or so at HC&S. My brother-in-law works for HC&S, and he's part Hawaiian, and he's concerned. There was a very interesting dynamic that took place in the Commission on Water Resource Management's hearings. From the beginning, all these guys from HC&S would get up, especially the part Hawaiian guys. They go, "Oh yeah, I get family, K&I, Hana, like that. We just want to see something worked out that's fair." By the second or third hearing, you never heard anything like that. It was all like, we have to have all this water. Well, they're dewatering the watershed. they're dewatering whole communities, like the Nahiku Ahupua'a, where they first discovered the first recorded case of dengue, and where you have the mosquito that carries the West Nile virus, which is, thank God, is not here yet. And you have K&I Wailua, where you have so many of the taro fields, the loi, are sitting fallow now because you don't have enough water circulation moving through to grow good kalo. And the same is true in the outer haiku areas, Huelo and like that. You know, many of those streams are dewatered. And when you look at the ditch system, it begins in Nahiku at Makapipi. Makapipi, which serves that community, used to serve that community, is now kind of toxic, just kind of black pools, you know, really horrid. And then right next to that is Hanavi, which was considered to be one of the outstanding streams in the state of Hawaii. So we have all these streams that are like totally impaired, that affect the nearshore waters, certainly aquatic life, rights of gathering by what we call native tenants, but native Hawaiians and other members of that community. You know, I think that's tragic. One could look at the book by Daviana McGregor, who teaches at the university, called Na Kua Aina. And it discusses in detail the effects of the dewatering of these communities and how people are forced into relative poverty because you can't grow your own food. And so you end up working in the hotel industry or something like that, commuting and stuff. So, you know, it's had very bad side effects.
And I just have one last.
Okay.
Sorry, Josh.
That's fine.
You mentioned sustainability and you know, the fact that central Maui used to be forest. Obviously, the cane crop, if you removed it completely, would have to replace it with something else sustainable. What would you
I can't
suggest?
wait. I can't wait. I mean, for all of us, I mean, just for fun, I think about different designs for central Maui. The first thing you should be doing is berming either end of the Maui saddle, because you're going to have, you know, ocean, you know, with global warming, which of course Don Gervig doesn't agree with. But if you do have global warming, which I feel like 98% of the world's scientists agree with that, you're going to need to create basically dike systems like you have in Holland to protect the Maui saddle. Otherwise, we're going to be two islands again. Then, classically, if you wanted to restore that land, instead of just having it blow away and be this toxic wasteland, you need to do a series of windbreaks that, as they do in New Zealand, that really protect anything, protect human habitat, protect other agriculture. Then you could grow any number of tropical hardwoods, which would become essentially infield windbreak. And then you'd be able to grow whatever you like. You have to rebuild the soil. The soil's been poisoned, it's been basically mined, which is industrial agriculture. But I think it could be very bountiful. Years ago, they looked at Molokai as becoming the breadbasket of the state of Hawaii. I think Central Maui could be that breadbasket. You know, you have access to water resources, although I hope considerably less than's presently taken. Yeah, I think, and the same guys who work for HC&S they know that land, they know how to operate machinery, although I don't think they're doing it intelligently right now. You know, those could be the people who help bring it back. But if we did market gardening and diversified agriculture and diversified orchards and silviculture and reforestation, yeah, that would be great. And especially as you go up slightly Mauka, because the cane fields actually run quite up into Pelehu and Omapio. And the foothills are incredibly good agricultural land. So, like that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is fun.
I hate to be annoying, but I'm the
Oh,
teacher,
please go
so-
ahead.
Would you mind, we just talk story casually. We should probably get some inserts with hands moving, because he's very
Sure.
handy.
Yeah.
And
You want to switch and all?
that way, when you're cutting his interview, you can cut to his hands.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
What should I do?
Well, just here, hand me the paper. so
Okay.
Nobody knows you got a cheat sheet. And then, let's see. You think that the classic Avapua'a model would work with the terracing and the breaks with trees? You can talk a little bit more about what kind of crops would work, like specifically. Taro takes up too much water.
Well, you could always do dryland taro,
Mhm.
as long as it's sheltered. The big thing with the Maui saddle is the condition. I mean, there are, a lot of sand, so you have to enhance organic matter in the soil. And whether it was Rudolf Steiner with the biodynamics, or Alex Podolinsky, or Bill Mollison with permaculture, the recurrent theme in all that teaching is creating soil, creating humic matter in the soil, so that you have a biological system that will naturally grow soil. And there's any number of things that can be grown. I mean, a good case in point would be Dream City in Kahului. And you look at especially some Japanese, but mostly Filipino, the agriculture that's there. The chiku sapotes, the moringa, stuff, even bananas growing in sand dunes and dry, windy, dusty, where your air is polluted. Some of the best mangoes in the state of Hawaii. But keeping the trees low, the canopies low, so that all the flowers don't get blown off by the wind and stuff like that. I think an intelligent traditional agriculture could replace what I consider to be an idiotic industrial agriculture, and self-destructive in many ways. But we're not looking for future generations. We're looking for an immediate gratification. It reminds me of after 9/11 when George Bush told everyone to go out and shop. Show them we're not afraid. Go out, spend more money, be consumers. And I thought, you're not looking at what the problems are. I mean, I spent time in Israel at the end of the Yom Kippur War as a photojournalist. I spent time in Egypt working for USAID. When you're there and you're in the Middle East and you see Arabs and Muslims as human beings rather than a them or an it, you see people who could be our friends. You see a global neighborhood rather than, competing interests all the time. Yeah.
Good, you got some